Dear students, good afternoon everyone. In today's session, we are going to take a look at business studies. As we know that the social science subject has 6 divisions. Business study is one of the divisions of social science. In the previous class, I told you the definition of business studies. What is business studies? Do you remember? Do you know the meaning of business studies? I already answered this question. Business study is nothing but which deals with or which studies about the day-to-day business activities of the man. Let me repeat. Business studies is nothing but which studies about day-to-day business activities of the man. This is about business studies. In today's class, we are going to take a look at business studies in business studies unit number 1, that is banking transactions. The today's topic is about banking transactions. Say, dear students, in this lesson we are going to learn the meaning of bank, the importance of bank, and characteristics of banks, and one more, what are the functions of the banks. There are many important issues over here which we need to understand, which we need to learn about the banks. What is a bank? Then what is the importance of the bank, or what is the role of the bank in a day-to-day life, and what are the characteristics of banks, and what are the functions of the bank. So we have to learn about these all important areas related to the which topic, banking transactions. See, dear students, we know that banks were developed around 200 years ago. Banks were developed around 200 years ago. See, around 200 years ago, the banks were developed. We had that concept in our society. Now, what do you mean by bank? Or what is the meaning of the bank? Here, see, the term bank is related to financial transactions. The word bank refers to financial transactions purely. The word or the term is nothing but which purely refers to financial institutions or financial institutions. See, let me explain. Banks are financial institutions. Banks are nothing but which are financial institutions. Then, which we use the money, which we use the money, which we use the money deposited by customers and investments and agree to return whenever they require. Say, let me repeat. Banks are financial institutions which we use the money deposited by the customers as investments and agree to return whenever they require. So, banks play vital role in our day-to-day life. We have a lot of money. We have a lot of money. Where do we keep that money? We keep a huge amount in our respective homes. Do you think it's correct? No. We have to, if you keep our money, our huge amount safely, we should not keep that much amount in our respective homes. We should keep that much amount in respective banks. Banks give full security to our huge amount. They give full security, and the banks usually keep our huge amount in safe custody. So we'll be in safer side. Simply we keep huge amount in our respective homes is of no use. Simply keeping home or keeping the huge amount in home is of no use. We need to understand the importance of banks. Banks are purely financial institutions. When we get ready to keep or deposit our amount in respective banks, the banks simply won't get the money from us. They are going to plan for that. They deposit our amount in them, and they give profit to us, and they give interest on them, right? See, banks. Just now I have told about financial institutions. That means banks are nothing but which are financial institutions, which help us in our day-to-day life. When we want loan, when you want loan, when we want loan, we go to bank and get the loan from the banks. Okay, maybe when you want loan for what purpose? The banks will ask you, what is the purpose? You are asking the loan from the bank. What is the purpose? You are going to get loan from the bank. The bank officials ask you, but why do you want the loan from the bank? You need to give the reasons. Maybe you are the loan for higher studies, the loan may be agriculture sector, or the loan may be related to business sector, anything. The banks will give the loan to the people in the fields of agricultural sector and business sector and other private loans as well. Let's move on to the next slide. See, dear students, let's take a look at the second slide. What is a bank? What do you know? What do you mean by bank? Now tell me. Here, the term bank is derived from Italian word banco. See, the term bank is derived from Italian word banco or French word bank. Both mean a bench or a mini exchange table. This is the meaning of the bank. Bank means, according to Italian word, bank means banco. According to French word, bank means, see, according to French word, bank both mean a bench or money exchange table. This is the meaning of the bank, according to Italian word and according to French word. Both mean bank means money exchange table or financial institution. Right. And one more function of the bank. Here we are going to take a look at what is the importance of the bank. See, it accepts deposits from the public. Usually, what do the banks do? Banks accept the deposits from the public and gives loan to those who those who are those who need it in the form of loans. See, let me repeat, it accepts deposits. Banks usually accept deposits from the public, then lends it. Banks come forward to give the loan amount to the general public, those who are in need in the form of loan. See, loans are always available. Banks are always ready to give the loans to you people. In turn, you need to you need to return the loan amount given by the and you need to return the loan amount got by you people. Understand? Let's move on to the next slide. Dear students, I have told you about bank. What is the just now we have studied about the meaning of the bank according to Italian word or French word. We come to know that bank means exchange table. Okay, bank exchange table. And one more thing I'd like to tell you: banks are nothing but which are financial institutions. We need to understand this important concept or this thing in detail. Okay, and now we're going to take a look at characteristics of banks. What are the characteristics of banks? Do you have any idea about the characteristics of banks? See, the first one, characteristics of bank is dealing with money. Usually, banks deal with the money, but not other things. Banks mainly focuses on money. People go to bank and deposit their amount in banks and get a profit from that. Okay. See, the first characteristics of banks is dealing with the money. Here, banks dealing with the money. They are dealing. Banks work with the money. Banks do the business with the money. Banks do the business with the money. Okay, so banks, as I told you, banks play a vital role in our day-to-day life. Every day, you see, you might have visited so many banks along with your parents or along with your friends. You might have observed the functions and characteristics of the bank. But when when you visited any bank, you might have observed the characteristics and the functions of the bank. Right? So the first characteristics of the bank is dealing with money. Here, who is going to deal with the money? Financial institutions. Here, financial institutions means banks. Banks are dealing with the money or working with the money. Mainly working, banks doing are going to do the business with the money, not without the money, right? And second, individual or firm or company. Here, banks act as an individual or firm or company. Here, bank is just like a company. You're just you're just a bank is just like a company. It acts like a company, or firm or individual. Right? This is the second character of the bank. And the third one, acceptance of the deposits. We want to deposit our huge amount in bank, the banks come forward and get the amount, and they get the amount and keep the amount in their bank. Okay, in the bank. In turn, they give profit. In turn, the banks give interest on them. See, interest, we get the interest. When we deposit our amount or use amount in the respective bank or in any bank, we get the interest on our deposited amount. Okay, and one more, lending loans. Here, the fourth characteristic of the bank is lending loans. Here, lending loans means giving loans to anybody. Okay, if you want to buy a car, the banks give loans to you. If you want to go for higher studies, if you want to go abroad for higher studies, you will get the loan from the bank. Banks can't refuse your request. When you come forward to get the loan from the banks, banks are always ready to give the loan. And at the same time, the banks will ask you the documents related to your property. How much property do you have? Without property, without your the hidden documents, without your property, the banks can't give you the loan to anybody. When it comes to higher studies, the banks will give loan to you people, no doubt at all. So that's why lending loans. Yeah, lending loans means we get the loans related to personal loan or car loan or house loan, anything. The banks give loans to us. Right. And payment and withdrawal. The next characteristics of the bank is payment and withdrawal. Payment. Just to imagine that we have already deposited. We have the amount, a little amount or huge amount in our SB account. We want to withdraw around maybe 10,000, 50,000. We have 1 lakh rupees amount in our SB account. We want to withdraw 10,000 rupees. What should we do? We should go to the bank and we should take the withdrawal slip and get and fill the form and we should mention the amount. Then the banks will uh, give our amount back. Like withdrawal, payment and withdrawal. We will get the amount in the form of check, in the form of DD. Okay. Suppose we want to take huge amount from one place to another place, maybe from our hometown to another place. But carrying huge amount with us, it is the most dangerous thing because we will face many problems uh, when it comes to the public life. People will observe us. People will look at us. Oh, this man is going carrying a huge amount with him. We should go. They think that they should come and attack us, and they will loot our amount. So something problem will be happen in our public life. So usually banks, what they do is they return our amount in the form of checks in the form of the demand drafts, or sometimes by cash. And next, agency and utility services. Banks usually act as agency and will give the utility services to us. This is also one of the characteristics of the bank. Right, dear children, see, we are studying about the characteristics of the bank. We know that we come to know that banks play a vital role in our day-to-day life. Just to imagine, just imagine the society without banks. What will happen? Just imagine. Just imagine that there is no a bank in one society. There is no bank in a society. Just what will happen? You just think. So banks are nothing but which are financial institutions which always gives support and security to our use amount. Once we deposit our amount in bank, we will be in safer side. Simply we keep the amount in our respective home. It's of no use. One day thieves will come and loot our home, and they, they take away our use amount from our home. Then we will become poor people. So try to understand. Yes, students. So, and one more, profit and service orientation. One more characteristics of the bank is profit, profit and orient, service orientation. See, banks simply don't do their business with the money. They get the money from us and deposit in them, and the same amount the banks will invest in other sectors, give loans, that amount, the banks will give that amount to the other people in the form of loan. Then the banks will get the profit out there. And at the same time, service orientation. Banks, on the one hand, banks will get the profit from the customers, and at the same time, the banks will give service orientation to the customers. Good service to the people, I mean, good service to the customers. So, in day-to-day life, we see a good number of banks. Banks these days, we see the customers won't visit banks necessarily because we are in a digital era. Okay, we are in digital era. We are in technical era. We have the credit cards and we have the debit cards, and we go to ATM and we get the amount. Okay, earlier we faced a lot of difficulties. To get something amount from the bank, we need to stand in long queue. Just uh, just 5 to 6 years back, we used to stand in queue when we want to get just a few years back. Just imagine, we used to go to bank and we used to stand in long queue to get our own amount from the bank. We need to stand in long queue. We faced a lot of problems in olden days. I mean, a few years back. But nowadays, we are very happy. Banks give good service to the customers. You see, everywhere, ATMs, anytime money. Just if you are just with the ATM call, I mean a debit call or credit call, you can get the amount. You can withdraw. You can get the amount from the ATMs. No doubt at all. And what's more to the characteristics functions. See, banks simply don't sit silently. They expand their services. The recent and advanced services, banks don't simply stop their work. They are very busy in expanding their services to its customers. And one more, connecting link. See, connecting link. Here, what do you mean by connecting link? Banks play vital role. Banks act as connecting. Banks has connecting link between the depositor and the borrower. Those who have deposited the amount in the bank, the link between the depositor and borrower. Those who want to get the loan from the people, those who want to get the loan, those who want to get the loan from the bank. See, the banks act as a connecting